So I am no stranger to an emotional purchase. In fact, you could probably argue that I've been documenting my emotional purchases on this channel for the past 17 years. And a couple of years ago, I made an emotional purchase that every time I used it, I had like very complicated feelings about. And that was my perfume of choice in my late teens, early 20s, Lovely by Sarah Jessica Parker. Now, the reason, I actually do remember the reason I first picked up this bottle when I didn't wear perfume when I was a teenager because all I could really have was like Charlie Red body spray. When I was at the point where I could purchase my first perfume, I really gravitated towards this perfume because it is actually almost identical to a perfume bottle I had in my playthings when I was a child. Now, I don't know where this came from. It was a real perfume bottle. My mum doesn't wear perfume, neither did my I'm going to make a really big claim here. I think I might be the first woman in my family to wear perfume. That's a really bold claim, but I really genuinely think it might be true. But for some reason she had this perfume bottle from somewhere and it just ended up in my play stuff and I used to just play with it all the time. I don't know why. It was just part of the paraphernalia of the random. I also had like a eye mask and some slippers that you'd get at like a hotel. And I remember like some kind of flight bag as well. It was a weird collection of things to play with as a child. But I just have loads of emotional memories about playing with a bottle exactly like this one. I imagine maybe it was like an older bottle and this was based off it. But I remember then smelling it and being like, I actually love this smell. And now I hadn't owned this perfume in like maybe 10 years and I walked past a sale for it at Savers a couple of years ago and I think I was just in a moment where I was like, I want to smell that. I want to smell that period of my life, and it also is so much cheaper than it used to be when I was on sale, and I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. And I had a really great time spraying it, remembering the memories, like evoking this feeling of that time and almost just like holding this and really feeling like the grown-up that I'd played so much in make-believe when I was younger. But also every time I used it, I thought about the perfume industry because that's the kind of fun person I am, guys. And I thought about how emotional advertising gets to you and how I totally am always falling into it. And it's not always a bad thing. Like I think the instinct to want to smell nice and to like serving your senses, like the amount of time and money and energy we put into putting stuff in front of our eyes and putting stuff in our ears and putting stuff in our mouth that we will enjoy, that we will like, and we think that that's a worthwhile amount of time and money to spend on it because we're getting pleasure out of it, and how little we spend like spoiling our noses and like enjoying that sense. I listened to a podcast recently with the founder of Lush because he's like a fragrance expert and he was talking about it like a genuine artistic pursuit, and I was just like, yeah, I kind of get that. Like it's kind of like composing, like making a sense. So I get all of that, but also whenever I looked at this bottle, I was like, I've just bought a celebrity perfume and I don't think it's cruelty-free or vegan, and I don't even, like, I never even watched Sex and the City growing up. I don't even care about Sarah Jessica Parker. Like, what is my attachment to this random commercial object? Because I know perfume can bring so much joy and experience and lift your mood and attach you to memories and ground you in the place that you are. But it can also result in a huge amount of wasted money, not only publicly, but personally. It can create waste, it can line the pockets of genuinely evil people. And I could inadvertently be paying for things to be done to animals that I would never allow to be done to a cat or dog that I owned. And I think that that is something that naturally should all disturb us. And if it doesn't disturb us, we've been trained out of that by commercialism. Do you know what I mean? So when I finished this perfume, I was like, what in the hell am I gonna get next? Because not only do I not really care that much about Sarah Jessica Parker or wanting to support her, and I'm not really convinced at any of the ethics about where my money is going, but also because I kind of want to preserve the memories I currently have when I smell this smell. I don't want to record over those memories like it's a VHS tape and wear this perfume all the time and then not be able to recall all the memories I get from it when I smell it now. And so, of course, I went down a rabbit hole because I had no idea what to look for or who to give my money to. Not because I think spending your money ethically and perfectly is completely possible in this world, but I do passionately believe that giving that a try and at least half-arsing it could genuinely change the world. You can argue with me on that, but it's probably going to be hard to make me shift on that, considering it is literally the premise of this channel. So this is what I found out from my deep dive into the internet. It seems like from this poll I did on Instagram, a lot of you also don't know where to look or feel confident about where to look for vaguely ethical or sustainable perfume. I am, of course, not an expert, but I have spent a lot of time lurking on information sites, reading articles, smelling fragrances, testing stuff out. So think of me as you 8 hours in the future after having spent all that time trying to find the information. Now, of course, first I had to interrogate the premise. I wanted vegan, cruelty-free, vaguely in some way sustainable perfume from a company that is not actively trying to ruin my body, my house, my town, my country, my world, which is, the shorthand for that is climate conscious. But really, that's what we're talking about. Now, I'm already on board with the importance of things being cruelty-free, but even if you are not, and you don't really care that much about the animal testing aspect of it, it might be worth knowing that non-animal testing tests on cosmetics and fragrances to make sure they're safe for humans is much more accurate than testing on animals as well. Recent studies have shown that animal testing only predicts how it will perform on a human body with about 40 to 60% accuracy. That's quite shit. That's quite shit considering there's almost 500,000 animals potentially getting harmed every single year because of this industry. That's quite a bad result. Usually you justify evil actions by saying they're for the greater good, or they're just of a greater excellence and they serve humans. But this is awful. For alternative testing, it's much closer to 80% or even more. So if you're buying cruelty-free, you're also just it's more safe for you. Now, why, you ask? Or did I ask at 1 a.m. in the morning when I decided to Google this? Why would a fragrance not be vegan? What could it possibly have in it that has animals in it? Aside from the cruelty-free aspect, to not be vegan, it actually has to contain things that used to be inside animals. Well, if you've ever had a warm, earthy fragrance on you, like I have, you might have the scent glands of a musk deer. I'm not actually kidding. They're like deers, but with fangs. And if you're unfamiliar with the musk deer, that's because they've been hunted to near extinction. It is now illegal in the EU, but as we know, that doesn't mean that if you're buying something in the EU, it doesn't contain that. So the only way to make sure your perfume doesn't have deer in it is to buy vegan. Civet musk or civet oil is produced by civets, which are a cat-like creature found in Africa and Asia. They don't actually get killed to get to be harvested, but they are kept on really inhumane farms, and it's quite gross, to be honest. And we're not even at the grossest part yet, so brace yourself, please. Consider this a warning. Castoreum is from beavers, and yeah, you do have to kill them to get it out of them. And get this. It's from their anal secretion. I'm not actually kidding. Apparently their anal secretion smells like vanilla. I bet you wish I had just said, oh, actually, it's just not vegan because sometimes it has milk or honey in it, which is also true. Your perfume could have milk or honey in it, but it's kind of even if it's got the chance of having beaver anal syrup in it, maybe not. Maybe not. We've actually not had the grossest one yet, believe it or not. Ambergris is another thing you might find in the ingredients on the back of your perfume, and that is actually from the digestive system of sperm whales. They used to call it whale vomit, but now they suspect that it might actually be coming from their rectum. It does smell, reportedly, exactly how you might imagine it to smell. But after it's dried out a little bit, it starts to smell quite sweet, apparently. So if you're into sweet perfume, you might be smelling the rectum of a sperm whale. You're lucky. So next time you go into Selfridges or some kind of luxury perfume counter situation, just know that they are not as polite or refined as they seem. Okay. Now, honestly, and I worked this out pretty fast when I was looking for a new perfume. If you walk into a Boots or a Superdrug and you go to their perfume aisle, like odds on, like if you just want the half-assed human approach, odds on it's not going to be cruelty-free or vegan. It runs the risk of having all of that kind of animal sludge in it. But I picked out some common ones that I know that you lot wear because I asked you on Instagram what your favourite perfumes are. So I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Marc Jacob Daisy was a really big one. That is not vegan or cruelty-free. The makeup is cruelty-free, but the fragrances aren't. And I think they've been coasting off the reputation of Marc Jacobs being cruelty-free, but the fragrances are neither vegan or cruelty-free. Chanel, not vegan and cruelty-free, also has a bit of a serious history, but I'll leave that to your Googling at 1 a.m, not mine. Diptyque, you fancy little beavers, is also not cruelty-free or vegan. Your other ones were Jo Malone, Prada, and Dior. Very nice. However, these three ones I think are the perfect example of the three shady parent companies that you probably want to watch out for. So Jo Malone is owned by Estee Lauder. If you haven't heard, not the best, and now owned by the son of the original founders, Ronald Lauder, who is a huge Trump supporter. He's been like running for office, I think, in the US. Prada is owned by L'Oreal. My God, we simply don't have time, but some of the headings on their Wikipedia page, most of which I've looked into and are very substantially probably true, most of the headings on their Wikipedia page are not favourable. Do you want any of these as headings with huge paragraphs underneath on your Wikipedia page as a company? Involvement in fascism by L'Oreal key figures. That's a really long article. Garnier boycott, animal testing, racist discrimination lawsuits, false advertising. That's big too. Patent lawsuit, corporate misconduct, Monroe Bergdorf, who is a transgender model who was treated awfully by them, child labour, NKD lawsuit. Like, I'm not even at the end of this article. So we'll just leave that there. And just to save you some time, L'Oreal also owns YSL, Kiehl's, Miu Miu and Diesel. Dior, who are also not cruelty-free or vegan, they are owned by the LVMH organisation, who have, again, a lot of problems with them, but most recently in 2025, Peter investigated them and they discovered loads of really brutal slaughterhouses, animals being struck with hammers, cut with razors. There were it was a mink and fox farm where they were electrocuting them and skinning them alive. It was not a good look, and they haven't actually really made that much of an effort to prove that it's wrong or rectify that situation in any way. So I'll leave that there. To save you some time, they also own Benefit, Bite, Fenty Beauty by Rihanna, Sephora, Christian Dior, the list goes on. Safe to say, if you're giving your money to those big companies, the money probably isn't being spent very wisely. It's highly likely that they will be doing some weird things with it, is what I think I am cleared to say. But please do not be discouraged, as I almost was. There are actually some really, really nice brands that are making beautiful perfumes at small scale and making them really, really well. Some of the main principles that I'm now operating under as a perfume lover are: 1, remembering that perfume is perishable. It is essentially like having a larder in your home. Most perfumes last between 3 and 5 years if you are lucky, so owning loads of them just means they're probably going to expire before you can use them up. And I would hate for us to be wasting our money. Just like we're trying to prevent food waste, why would you put all your money into a bottle that you're never going to be able to get to the end of? An average 50ml bottle, this is 50 millilitres. Spoiler alert, I'm going to show you this one in a minute, but this one is 50 millilitres. Has about 500 to 650 sprays in it. So if you're doing 1 to 2 sprays, just one of these would last you a whole year. Or if you're doing 3 or 4 sprays steady on, then it would last you 6 months. So what does this mean? Let's do the maths. If you're a heavy sprayer, 4 sprays or more, and your perfumes are going to last maybe 3 years each, then you don't really want to own more than 6 perfumes if you genuinely want to use up what you have and enjoy it and get the enjoyment out of it before it expires or starts to smell funny, which I think we can agree is irony. It's kind of the opposite of why you spend money on perfume. So yes, that's the first point, remembering that it's perishable. The second point is doing my little checks. Here are my little checks, my 3 checks that I do are crueltyfreekitty.com. It's a very thorough website that checks all the credentials of cruelty-free brands and is widely accepted as a pretty reliable, thorough source. Second is the BDS movement website. Of course, we would like to boycott anything on that list. And then thirdly is ethical consumer, which I have a subscription to, so I can see like the full breakdown of every brand that they have listed on there. But even if you are not a paid subscriber, you can still see like the general overall score and like who the parent company is and stuff. So highly recommend them as a resource. And the third thing I do is trying to buy as small as possible. Like if there's I want to enjoy my perfume, so I'm not going to buy a perfume I don't like. It has to be like, if I'm going to use it up and like respect the object, genuinely has to be something I love. But if I'm picking between two different brands and like sense that I kind of like both of them quite a lot, I'll always go for the smaller company because they're more likely to be keeping their money local and paying tax. Or I also check Vinted because 2 of the 3 perfumes I'm going to show you today are actually from Vinted. I think that of all of the things like cosmetics that you're going to source secondhand, perfumes is a bit of a safe one. One, because they're really sealed. Like it's not like you're like people have been dipping their fingers in them. Hopefully they're usually really sealed up, so it's kind of safe. And also they're a really common unwanted gift. Like how many people say, oh, I got a perfume for Christmas and I don't like it. There's absolutely tons of perfumes on Vinted that are completely unopened and sealed. With all of that said, of all of the perfumes that I deep dived into on their own websites and reviews of other people's for hours and hours and hours, here are the 3 perfumes that I own that I really like and I'm excited about supporting, and I'm just like glad they exist. And I'll go from ascending order, company size and accessibility up to like a bigger one that you would have heard of. So the smallest company is Waxy, that's their logo down there, WXY. They were originally a very small vegan cruelty-free candle brand that do 100% plant-based wax, but they then have branched out into perfume. And I actually discovered this because I was in like a small indie gift shop in Manchester like 6 or 7 months ago, and I sprayed it on myself, and then I went home and I was smelling that jumper for the next like week and a half, and when it started to fade I was like, I think I need that perfume. So they are vegan and cruelty free, made in the UK, and they are very small and indie, and they are also stocked in small and indie gift shops that you can support as well. And they are really small at the moment, so they're not accredited by like the big regulators yet, because I know that's expensive to do. But with very small brands like this, I do give them a little bit of grace, and especially if they're made in the UK and they tick all my other boxes and they're literally like a company founded on those ideals, then that is bloody close enough for me. And also it smells absolutely incredible. I've got the Leo one and it smells so that's the first one. But I'm struggling to find other stockists. I can tell you the ones. There's one in Liverpool, there's one in Manchester, and there's one in Chester, and apart from that I'll just have to leave you below to try and find where you can sniff that one in person. One you can sniff in person much easier is Floral Street. They seem to have sustainability in mind at every point in their production cycle, and although their founder used to work at Estee Lauder and MAC, we have to presume that she has seen a different way of doing things and has now set up Floral Street. I tried 8 of their testers. I bought a little tester pack at Oliver Bonus, and I didn't like any of them because I'm not really a floral person. Like I would much rather smell like I've just been around a bonfire, or I've just been sitting with an old gentleman in a rocking chair who's smoking a pipe or telling me stories. Like I like that kind of smell. So the only one that really fitted my preferred scent profile was Black Lotus, and I bought this mini one off Vinted, and I'm very much enjoying it. They're 100% like certified cruelty-free and vegan because they're much bigger, and they are certified by PETA and the Vegan Society, and like very well respected. And they're also sold in M&S and Boots, so if you want to go in and actually sniff them, you can quite easily. If I look slightly different, it's because my camera overheated so much that it turned itself off. That's how British summer is going right now. So maybe a very fitting time to be talking about sustainable perfume in a world that is currently roasting itself. Let's not buy too much perfume, guys. Let's buy it from nice people. Anyway, where was I? The third Lena approved company on the list is, of course, Lush. Lush are my favourite pedantic mavericks. They are much more fussy, picky and meticulous than me when it comes to ethical stuff. Like I actually cannot believe some of the hoops they jump through to make their stuff ethical. I've been able to meet some of the people that source ingredients for their perfumes, and it's kind of like not really in the realms of anybody else's version of reasonableness, like the lengths they go to source like ethical products and keep updating them. So they have like accreditations coming out of their ears, and then of all of the choices preferences that I have in the UK of like things to buy at my price point, Lush is probably my best bet for knowing that things are sourced in the way that I would source them if I was a pedantic perfume ingredients buyer. I got my favourite Lush scent is unfortunately one of the much more expensive ones. It's called Cardamom Coffee, and you'll know if you've been on this channel for a while that I've been obsessed with this scent for a very long time. I've been trying to find it, and some absolute queen put this on Vinted with only a few sprays missing from the top for an incredibly reasonable price. These tops aren't coming off, not with human hands anyway, so I felt very confident buying a secondhand perfume, and as you can see, I absolutely love this scent. I don't know what I'm gonna do when it's gone, honestly. Physically, creatively, spiritually, I might be lost. So those are the 3 fragrances that I currently own that I feel confident about buying from: Floral Street, Lush, and Waxy. However, I am also interested in Flaya, who are a company that seem incredibly small and local and UK based, but Ethical Consumer really, really rates them. So I've actually ordered some of the little tester sprays from them. So Flaya are on my I'm interested list, as are Eden. Nicole Whittle, famous vegan, much more research than me, who has been on the channel before as a guest, always really recommends Eden. And while their packaging is atrociously ugly, and I actually do think that visuals are part of anyone enjoying a perfume, I think we deserve nice looking perfumes, they are incredibly ethical, and they do like refillable perfume, and they also do dupes for lots of really famous perfumes. So if you're watching this video and going, oh, but I really want my Marc Jacobs Daisy, but now I'm devastated because I don't want to buy it, they're probably going to have a dupe for it there. So I am really interested in trying Eden perfume, but I do maintain deeply ugly packaging. And then thirdly, the Society of Alchemists, which is something that one of you told me about on Instagram. And they're based in York. They make all their stuff in York, and it looks really fun. Thank you for spending some time with me while I dumped all of my random things I've learned about perfume onto you. I hope you feel full of curiosity and not shame or embarrassment that you didn't know, because I didn't know until I read about it. Everybody doesn't know until they know. And also, like, who has time to look all this stuff up and consider all of this stuff? Me, apparently, but that is only because of the Gumption Club. They tip me for all these videos and they support me on Patreon, so I can just sit there and deep dive into this stuff and not be influenced by a sponsor and talk about the brands that I genuinely trust, or like the smaller ones that don't have money to send me samples or anything. And also I can just say, I'm really interested in Eden's products, but they do have ugly packaging, not in the back of my head thinking, I can't say that about the brand because what if they sponsor me one day? So thank you to the Gumption Club for supporting this random time I took out of my life to look at what ethical and sustainable perfume genuinely looks like. Again, like I'm just a woman Googling on the internet. The purpose of this video is a shortcut to the snooping around you didn't have time for. So of course I will leave all of the sources in the description below, articles, information, charts, mayonnaise, ketchup, all of the sources, with particular thanks to Ethical Consumer magazine, who continue to be incredibly worth the subscription fee to find out all of this really interesting stuff. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, I've got a suspicion you'd like one of these videos. Of course, tell me about your favourite perfumes below, especially if they fall into any of my desired categories. And if you'd like me to do a deep dive on any other kind of consumer goods you're having trouble sourcing, let me know in the comments below, because I'd love to make more of these. Thank you so much. Frog Snog out.